Welcome to the Big O Money Show. I am Andrew Galvin and filling in for Bill Altman this morning. And with me, as always, or most of the time, I'd say, is co-host Tony Shore. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Andrew. Thanks for having me on the show with you today. Boy, you're filling in for Bill Altman. Those are big, huge, ginormous shoes to fill.
Huge shoes to fill.
Huge.
So it's going to
very
be
bigly.
Yes, bigly. Yes,
the big guy himself. And I'm not talking about physically huge. I have pretty big feet, but Bill's shoes are even bigger to fill because that when he's not around, it leaves quite a void, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's always a treat to be on the radio. But Tony, I think he does a good job. I think he really breaks things down, and I think that's why a lot of people respect and like the radio program. I think you guys do a tremendous job. So I'm excited to be with everybody today. Tony, happy early Christmas season.
Yeah. You know what? We're heading into Christmas week here.
Yeah.
Hopefully everybody out there, our listeners, are prepared for Christmas week. I know my wife and I are ready. I believe we've pretty much got everything in order. How about you? Do you and Andrea, do you have any last minute things to do, or are you pretty ready?
I should probably start my Christmas shopping, Tony.
Oh, Andrew. Well, I know it's hard for financial advisors. People might not realize, but the job you do, you have the end of the year planning and tax planning. You have end of year people trying to get their finances in order before the holidays, and Medicare season, open enrollment just happened. And this is kind of a busy time of year. So finding time for you to Christmas shop's probably tough.
It gets a little tough. It's funny because every year you talk about the Medicare season, about the first or second day of December, Bill Kaiser's, he's kind of running around the office and he says,
chicken with his head cut off.
Yeah. But he's like, well, I'm probably going to leave a little early today because I need to start bagging my leaves in my lawn, because
in December. Yeah.
He hasn't had a chance. Right. So, yeah.
He works some long days as a Medicare specialist in your office, Bill Kaiser.
Yep.
I wouldn't give his troubles to a monkey on a rock during Medicare open enrollment season. He is so busy. I can't, I get tired just thinking about his schedule and how many meetings he does a day and how many people in the community he helps. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of people get Medicare help through your office and Bill Kaiser. I think that's really great.
Yeah. And Brenda
Dinan is awesome. Yeah. She's awesome.
She does a great job.
She makes it look easy though. Bill,
she does.
Bill's great at it. But it stresses me out a little bit. Brenda, it's just like, are you even busy right now? But she does.
Cool as a cucumber.
Yeah. She is one cool customer. I like that.
Yeah. So, but it'll be good. I'm going to get some Christmas shopping done here. And then we've got 35 coming over to our house for family Christmas. So, yeah.
And your wife, Andrea, she works for a living, right? She's a professional too. She's an attorney. So when is she going to find time for all this?
Well, since this is pre-recorded, Tony, it's Thursday today, and we're going to clean the house tonight. We're going to do our shopping Friday, go to Costco, get stuff ready for food. And then Saturday, the day before the show airs, we'll have everybody over for Christmas. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gonna be crazy. But it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Christmas time, the lead up, I think, gets really stressful for people because you've got all this stuff, but the day of, it's so nice to just see everybody and come in, let's eat, let's do time together. That's really what the season is about.
It is. And that's the best gift. 5-10 years from now, nobody's going to remember the physical gifts they got or care, but I'll tell you what they will remember is the experience.
The time.
Yeah, the time. And it's really, that's what you're giving is an experience and your time. That's the best gift you can give. Like if you're a grandparent out there listening, it's really Yeah, the experience is the best word I guess I can come up with. That's what you want to leave is experiences, memories for your grandkids. I don't remember any physical presents my grandparents got me.
Yeah.
I know once in a while I get a card and there was some cash in it. That was always nice
Oh
from my
yeah.
grandparents. But what I remember most are trips with them or hanging out with them and spending time together. I remember all those family gatherings over the holidays where all the cousins and everything got together. And those memories are the ones that stay with you your
Yeah.
entire life. Yeah.
Cousin time was great. Yeah, growing up making Christmas cookies over Christmas break with people
Yeah.
and, mom, siblings, everyone's home for the holidays. So hopefully listeners out there, Tony, are getting ready and, just remember as you go through the season, it's not about what you give, it's about the time you spend. I always think that's important to just put it in perspective. But Tony, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, we do.
It's the season for year-end planning. And this year has actually been a solid year in the market. I mean, we've had some really great returns.
Yeah.
We've had some volatility. If you look back through March and April, right? I mean, the tariff talks came, the bears were circling, everybody thought the sky was falling. And then May, the clouds parted and we had a 20-point swing on the S&P coming into year end now. Things are kind of up and down. People are talking about the AI bubble bursting. Do we think it's a bubble? A lot of people have asked me that. I don't know. If you look at the clip that these technology companies are investing, these sums of money that they're investing, maybe there's something to this AI. And we've started to use some of that stuff internally here, as much as regulations allow, right? Obviously, we've got to be a little careful with how we do business, and I'm sure, Tony, you're the same up there in Minnesota. But, there's some really cool things coming out.
There are. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was just talking to Mike Binger and Keith Gangle from Gradient Investments. Keith is the senior portfolio manager. Mike Binger is the president of Gradient Investments.
Yep.
And they were asked the same thing. Is this AI a bubble? Should we compare it to the .com bubble? And some people have said this is going to be like the .com bubble, and they said no. That was the .com bubble was completely different because there was no substance behind it. People were just pouring money into companies and buying company stock because they had a .com behind their name.
Exactly.
Like pets.com, or somebody would just come up with a website and these capital
publicly traded
and they could become publicly traded and investors and would give them millions of dollars for no reason, and they had no actual profits.
Yep.
The difference is AI is producing something. There is something there, and it's not like somebody just is naming a company something AI and they can go on the stock exchange and start selling stock. So it's not the same. That's what they said. But you do have to be careful. Things get overvalued, sure, and we can have a correction. And they do believe there's probably a major correction coming next year. Nobody has a crystal ball, but there's probably a major correction coming next year. It may or may not be in the AI area. It may be in other areas. But I think the talk of an AI bubble at this point, I think, is a bit premature and not really based on the right information, because .com bubble was completely different.
Right. Yeah. Just no substance behind a lot of that stuff with the .com bubble.
I wish I'd come up with a great idea for a website. All you had to do is come up with an idea for a website and people would throw money at you. It's just like, wow, those are the days.
Well, then you look at okay, people are talking about NVIDIA. They're talking about AMD, these companies that are producing chips that people are buying by the truckloads.
Yeah, there's actually a physical product. They're chips,
right?
And there are technologies behind the server farms and the electricity needed. So companies that are innovating in these areas that is important. That is useful.
Right.
And that area is going to continue to grow. It would
Yeah.
be crazy if it did not.
Yeah. And so kind of leading into that point then, Tony, next year we're kind of thinking, is it a bubble? Is it not a bubble? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
Right.
People that have crystal balls, theirs don't always work correctly.
Right.
Or if they did, I think people that had
I'll
those
tell Mike Binger that for you too.
maybe don't tell him I said it though, Tony.
Right. Andrew Galvin told me to tell you.
Yeah, no, I don't think that go over well. But if somebody was right 100% of the time, like would I choose to live, Omaha is great, but would I choose to be on a beach somewhere, So looking forward and like trying to predict the future, we don't know what's going to happen next year.
Right.
They're talking high single digits, low double digit returns on S&P in terms of earning growth, through these AI companies. They think that trade's going to continue. And, it's softened going into the end of this year, but that sector's up 19, 20% still this year. That's beating the S&P 500. But what if, Tony, somebody said, hey, I want to take advantage of some of these rates and, earn something on my money, but I'm really concerned about having some downside protection. Andrew, what is something that you would recommend? And there's a lot to like out there. I think we've talked on this show a number of times, Tony, about buffered indexes. Yeah. Fixed income is still in a place where, through the first 6 months of next year could be really good for an individual. We also have fixed index annuities with rates that are incredibly high, 100% principal protection on the downside, 10% cap on the S&P 500 on the upside. So basically, if the market goes down, you don't lose. That's that principal protection piece, right?
Yeah.
And if the S&P 500 performs high single digits, low double digits, you're basically capturing all of that performance. I think that's really attractive. And take a step back here. I've been in the business close to 10 years now. When I started, where I came from was more the brokerage side of the world, TD Ameritrade, now Schwab. And then I went to a financial advisory firm here in Omaha. I won't mention names, but they did not like annuities. It was a bad word.
Sure.
And, why is it a bad word? Well, you couldn't get the same market performance. There were high fees. That product that I just talked about, no fee. No fees.
Yeah, it's gotten so much more competitive. The insurance companies have gotten so competitive to get people's business and dollars flowing through their companies that they've really tailored these for the consumer. They actually listened, and you used to have variable annuities with high fees. You didn't have principal protection. You still gave up some downsides or upsides sometimes. And really, that fixed indexed annuity you're talking about, people say, what's the deal with annuities? I've heard negative things. You hear the ads on TV. We won't sell you an annuity, or we won't talk about annuities.
Never.
Well, I don't know how they can we're fiduciaries. Well, you can't be a fiduciary if you're taking options off the table, especially when they might be the best option for a retiree. If you can get a fixed index annuity with no fees, your principal that you put in is protected.
Yeah.
And so you don't have any downside. And you can have up to 10% gains based on the S&P. If the S&P gains 15, you're going to gain 10. So you're giving up some of the upper level gains when it goes way up. Like if it goes up 20% in a year, you're still going to get the 10%. But if it goes down 20% or down 5%, you're not going to lose out. You're staying at your principal's protected. You're never going to drop below zero. So you're never going to go into the negative there, which is huge. I mean, that's a huge thing. Just in the buffered index portfolios work in a similar way. So you have to look at all options. And again, you'd never want to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to put all your money in a fixed index annuity because you want to have some money that's going to get that full growth if the market skyrockets
Little
again.
A, little a B. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the issue is, if you go back, a number of years, there were the products out there were so different, in terms of what you could offer. So
this isn't your father's or your grandfather's annuity.
No.
And if people say, I don't like annuities, do you like the idea of Social Security? You pay in and you get guaranteed checks for life.
You like a pension?
Pensions, that's an annuity. Social Security's annuity, annuity. So it's just anywhere where you put money in and then you get a regular payment back out. Your money can grow inside there. And worst case scenario, you've got principal protection.
Yeah. And a lot of times, Tony, too, with that fixed indexed annuity, you've got accumulation annuities, which are going to function more kind of like what we just talked about with, the 10% on the S&P, no downside, no fee.
Right.
It's really just meant to be a conservative growth allocation for individuals.
Right.
And okay, let's look at a bond portfolio versus just that type of accumulation annuity, because that's the most often the comparison that we see, right?
Right. People say, well, I've got some safe money. I have bonds, so I have safety, but your principal in bonds isn't protected.
No, it's not. And if you can earn 4, 5, 6%, our bond portfolio return 6.5, 7 by the end of the year, because of some principal appreciation, because rates were falling. Rates fall, bond prices rise on an existing bonds. That's how that works. But okay, 6, 7%. Well, what if you could get 10? Yeah. Would you do that with less risk than the bond portfolio?
Right.
And still having some liquidity. You can take out 10% a year on that product. I mean,
liquidity is another concern. You're giving up some liquidity by putting it into a fixed index annuity, because you might have a 3-year annuity or a 2-year or a 5-year annuity. Yep. However, you can take up to 10% out of most fixed index annuities per year with no penalty, no withdrawal penalty. So that's good. Now, obviously, it's recommended you leave your money in the annuity for the full term to try to make as much on it because you want that growth. However, it's a shorter term. You can get short and long-term annuities, but the bond market, all you have to do is look back at 2022. If you had your money in a fixed index annuity and not the bond market, you would have came out way ahead because bonds tanked in 2022. That's and right. The stock market tanked at the same time. So the old 60-40 split, well, I'm balanced because I've got 60% in stocks, 40% in bonds. That's a good balance. No, that used to be. That was an old rule, but that doesn't really apply anymore because the bond market is kind of turned upside down.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And here's the thing is, the bonds the last couple of years have been attractive because after 22, rates really came up dramatically. That's what caused that stock prices to fall. Rates came up. But now we've been in a situation the last 2 or 3 years where,
the Fed has lowered rates now.
Yeah. Now the Fed's lowering rates. So that fixed income's attractive again. But, what's going to happen next year? And what does that look like? Now, thankfully, inflation numbers just came out, Tony, CPI numbers. Actually, inflation compared to what was expected, numbers actually came in better than what they thought. They were expecting 3.1% annual inflation, came in at 2.7. Yeah. I mean, things look like they're kind of moving in the right direction there. But if you listen to the Fed, they've got that dual mandate, right? So they're looking at inflation, but they're also looking at jobs. I think they're starting to shift to that jobs number more than the inflation.
Because that hasn't been as good. And that's what they're using as a catalyst or a reason to lower interest rates to try to stimulate the economy.
And so that means bond yields will come down, money markets, CDs, all those traditional sources of safe income, for retirees, you're going to start to see lower yields. And that's not a problem, but, can we do better for our clients and for prospects out there? And the answer is yes, unequivocally,
Yeah. Yeah, and for tax purposes, you have to look at there's a big difference between CDs and annuities, because like a MIGA is a good tool to use instead of a CD. It's very similar to a CD, but
Yep.
bank CDs, and I didn't realize this until I got power of attorney over my dad's finances because he has
Yep.
cognitive issues, and he had a CD, and I get a 1099, and I'm like, wait, that CD doesn't come due until 6 months into the next year. We haven't touched that money,
Got to
and
pay
I'm
tax.
getting a 1099. They're taxing us on the money made. Every year, you'll get a 1099 on a CD, whether you're taking it out, whether it's due or not.
Yep.
And that's not the way the money in a MIGA works, is it?
Yeah. No, and same with those fixed indexed. I mean,
Yeah.
as long as you're not pulling anything off, you're
Yeah.
not paying any taxes.
Yeah.
So, that piece becomes incredibly attractive. And
Yeah.
is an annuity right for every client, Tony? No. Just the same way bonds aren't right for every client, or the stock market
Right, it
is.
depends on your situation and your needs, and that's why you would never recommend an annuity to somebody until you knew their full picture.
Right.
And even then, you might say, "No, this isn't a fixed index annuity is not the best tool for you."
Yeah. Or variable. We just had a couple in this week that I worked through a variable annuity through a company, and they're like, "Gosh, this seems like we're not really making any money." Well, yeah, because you're paying 3.25% in fees every year.
Yeah, and you didn't put that couple in
We
that
didn't
annuity. They came to you with a variable annuity, and you're like, "Whoa."
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
their first comment, Tony, was, "This doesn't seem like it's performing very well." Well, no, it's not. Your average rate of return.
I don't know how
It
anybody
beats you.
makes any money with variable annuities. Now, I've had financial advisors tell me, "Oh, no, there are certain situations." Well, I personally have never seen the situation where the variable annuity would make sense, at least for me, because between the fees and the market risk, because if the market goes down 10%, you're going to lose 10% of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it is directly with the market. It's not just based on market returns. Like you can lose money in a variable annuity just like you would in the stock market. So it really doesn't mitigate risk like a fixed index annuity does with the
Yeah.
principal protection.
And that's not to say, Tony, because I know we're just talking about this, that's not to say a variable annuity couldn't be the right product for somebody. It's just all about making sure we
Sure.
here understand a client's situation.
Right.
We make recommendations.
Yeah.
And is there something better? Is there something that we can do to get, risk off the table or increase returns? And so really, Tony, I think as we kind of wrap up the show, because we're almost out of time here, if things we've talked about today, or there are listeners out there that say, "Gosh, yeah, I got a variable, it's not performing well," or I'm looking for an alternative, or what's going to happen next year in the stock market, give us a call. 402-557-6730. Talk to Justine, get on our calendar. We'd love to help you as we go through the end of this year, beginning of next. There's still a lot of really good stuff out there, Tony. And I want to make sure that individuals take advantage of it. So.
Yeah, that's huge. Well, Andrew, thanks for the great information today. I know you had a lot more you wanted to talk about, and it'll be in one of the upcoming week shows, but I'm glad you straightened us out on annuities. And Merry Christmas. I hope your gathering goes well. And for all our listeners and viewers out there as well, Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Tony. Appreciate it.
All right. And that does it for today's episode of the Big O Money Show with our host today, Andrew Galvin.